The modern world is one cursed by many ills, and if you were to ask how these many ills have come to be, there will be 1,000 answers for each one's origin, many false and some true. But if you were to ask how they were spread so far, there is one clear answer: internationalism. First, what is internationalism? It's pretty self explanatory, but I'll explain it dum dum. Internationalism is the merging of things to be the same across multiple different countries, like the United Nations being an organization for all countries, or internationally. Internationalism and globalism are two things that are fought for by a few different kinds of people. First off, the ones who are mostly to blame for it, that being rich people trying to maximize profits. And like many things nowadays, the second most to blame are the ones who are in an unholy union with the previous, pushing the same things despite on paper being diametrically opposed, that being the politically left wing horde. And third, the even larger horde of people who have been fooled into being for it by the two before without even realizing it, or mostly just your average persons. What are the motives for people to be for internationalism? The easiest to explain is the third one, who don't have a reason for it, they just believe it because they've been told to and defend it for the same reason. Likewise, can be said with a large portion of the left wing crowd, who overlap a lot with the people who've been fooled into believing such things. But in regards to the other part of left wingers who've come to the belief without being tricked, have come to it for a variety of reasons, as their general world outlook is one that is predisposed to something like it, and their entire belief system going against the concept of nations as a whole because of their ideas of universal human unity being very important, disregarding things such as cultural practices, heritage, and traditions as being non important, and instead care for things like what they believe to be equality, social justice, and diversity. Which a lot can be said about how their versions are not truly those things. But because of those things, they don't have anything against the dying off of unique cultural elements that modern internationalism causes, and instead are actually for it, seeing no reason why two cultures doing the same thing in different ways should be kept around. And lastly, the rich who like most things modern rich people do, they do it to earn more money, and as the international world is larger than the national one, it's thus also more profitable. And the more so, the more uniform it is, because it's easier to sell the same thing in the same way to two people who are alike rather than two completely different ones, and thus they make more profit the more identical they make people. For example, a food corporation that started in a country that eats a lot of sugar. For that corporation, if they want to be just as successful in other countries, they can either use time, resources, and effort to find what those other countries want and to follow along in the trends of those countries, or just do the same as in their country of origin and try to make the other countries eat just as much sugar and then save resources. And while one company doing this might not have a very large impact unless it's a really big one, when it's hundreds or thousands doing this at the same time, it ends with the world slowly turning into one big blob for corporations to try and pump as much money out of as possible. And because of the aim of doing so, rich people have successfully promoted internationalism to the common man in most part of the world. Because why wear the folk dress of your people when you can wear the cheap clothes mass produced in ASEAN for the environment? The type of rich people who just want more and more without really having a reason for why, have all the reasons in the world to be for internationalism, and also have the resources to promote it. And when it's hundreds of thousands of people putting effort into destroying the differences in culture around the world, it becomes the easiest option to get more money for them. But why is internationalism bad? You might question. And to that, I have two types of arguments in response. One practical, the other philosophical. First, I will go with the more practical, as they are more likely to change someone's view. The first of the practical arguments being that with a great melding of cultures into one, a lot of wisdom gets lost. like how the Native Americans used to have practices of controlled bush burnings that would make forest fires less common and less destructive. But when Europeans took over, that practice fell out of use, and now forest fires are a lot worse there. And so will be with a lot of other things with internationalism, where good things go lost and fall out of use in favor of an internationalized version. Secondly, is that less difference will make finding solutions to various problems harder. Like with the last, where it makes everything into an internationalized version and things be forgotten. It'll make it harder to innovate and come up with new ideas when everyone comes from the same internationalized culture, with the same mindset, beliefs, and ways of going at things. Even if everyone was an Einstein, not every problem would be fixed, because Einstein had his ways of thinking, doing things, and trying, and even if he had good ones, they would become limited fast in what they would be able to do, because they can't always be the right ones. To fix problems, you need a lot of different input, and when a lot of people have the same unsuccessful one, you need a maverick. And I'm not talking about a Logan Paul fan, but someone who goes their own way. Or you need someone from a different culture with other ways to have a try. And third is that with more differences, it's simply easier to stop something bad from spreading. Like a fire only keeps spreading because of there being a lot of flame congested material. And like that, a bad idea or bad practice can spread way easier without being stomped out or stopped, because there are a lot of societies susceptible to it, because they've all turned into one large, indiscernible blob. I'm trying so hard right now not to do a The West Has Fallen rant, but just try to make a fire with a bunch of random things thrown into a pit, and you'll see how much worse it will burn than one that's made out of just sticks in the leaves. And now it comes to what I care more for, the philosophical reasons as to why it's bad. And first, I'll go with the simple fact that the world would be more beautiful without internationalism. Beauty is best seen when it stands out, and in our current world, where we in most part have one great internationalized culture influencing the world, most things don't really stand out that much, which makes it way harder to spot the beauty there is. It is why it's common to hear people with an American lens say white people have no culture, because white American culture has influenced the world so much that it seems standard. One thing I extremely strongly believe in is that people should start wearing traditional clothes as everyday clothes again. They are, for one, a million times more beautiful than current fashion. But also, think about how it'd be to go on vacation in a foreign land, seeing that land's unique clothes and general culture, see how it evolved, see how it contrasts with the homeland, which will make both homeland and other land seem way more beautiful, because you can see how each found their own way. And when you come home, you can feel way more at home in your own country, because it has no equal, nor any other like it, and feel way more love for it, and feel way more at peace in home where you are in the world, and feel way more attached to your homeland. And because of that, you will feel happier and more grateful for what they have, happier for the beauty only their home has, and that they have the perfect place for them in the world, instead of being in an international world that has only the same, that makes them feel equally alien everywhere. When every nation is set on their own path, and everyone in it pours their soul into creating a culture and home for themselves and their close ones, creating unique culture and traditions, they will make one that is suited for them and will be filled with the souls of all the different people who are part of it. They will make a soulful, beautiful culture, unlike the spiritual meat grind of internationalism that isn't made of souls but of hunger for more money. Practice of affecting the self in the own, which in this case is the homeland, is one that is way more preferable to focusing on international, because when attention is on the self and not the other, or something that has importance to the person doing it rather than something that doesn't, they are way more thoughtful of what they are doing and are way more motivated to do good things for it instead of plundering it for personal gain. A world where every country is made of soul and feels like a whole new world, simply just a much more beautiful and enjoyable world. And a more enjoyable and beautiful world is a better, soulful world. And what is the meaning to life if you just ignore the soul? A world where a nation focuses on itself and makes itself better is one where the soul can flourish.